Big Brother Diary Room.
Every single season and learn everything that there is to know about everybody.
Please make your way to the diary
celebrity, Brandon.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Diary Room podcast, a Big Brother podcast where we're trying to find the best player in Big Brother history, or at least North American Big Brother history. I don't want to waste any time here at the top. I'm Matt. That's Aman. Aman, what's up?
I'm happy to be back as per usual. We are really making our way through this latter half of round one, and we've got some fantastic guests along the way. One in particular this time around that we're sure everyone is going to be super excited to hear from. So yeah, without further ado, why don't you just let us get into it?
Could not be more excited. When you think of doing a Big Brother podcast and having on some alumni, some podcasters, players, whoever you think of, you have like the top of the tier, like the wish list. And certainly this person is at that top tier wish list. And we have him with us today from Big Brother 8 and a little bit of a cameo appearance on Big Brother 27. Eric Stein is with us. Eric, how's it going?
Guys, thank you so much for having me. The timing for this is absolutely perfect. For the last 18 years, I've been plotting my revenge on Big Brother and all of the house guests. So that wouldn't have been a good time to chat about this. But now that my duplicity and underhanded plans have come to light, I am ready to read some of these house guests to filth right now.
I love it. I think I told you this, or if I didn't, I'm telling you for the first time. I screamed. I screamed at the TV so loud on finale night. I never in 1,000 years expected in that specific spot to be your return to the show. And I think, as you were explaining to Robin Taryn on the debrief podcast afterwards, that wasn't where you expected either, but I'm happy to take it.
I was standing there and I expected Nicole Franzel to be there. I would have expected Jody before me. It was the most unfathomable, bizarre, and super fun, unexpected sort of thing. It's a much better place to currently leave my story than where it was last left, which was down the crapper for 18 years. At least I got to have some fun now, if that's the last time you see me on the show.
Well, I'm sure it's not the last time we'll see you somewhere. So as you said back again on that Taryn and Rob podcast, feels like you're back right now. I'm not trying to speak for you, but it's been a couple of years that you did kind of dip your toes out of the reality TV water, the Big Brother, conversation. But I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm excited. I see you in front of me.
I'm going to give you guys a Diary Room exclusive. I have gotten 0 phone calls since my appearance on Big Brother.
All right, well, we need to work on that.
I mean, it's been very exciting to not only see you, but see a couple of other players sort of like come out of the woodworks now. And, I don't know, maybe it's not out of the realm of possibility for a certain show to hit up Eric Stein one of these days. I'm putting the energy out there. They seem to be digging into the Big Brother files for other players. So I can't, I don't understand why you can't be amongst them. So, hey, I'm kind of agreeing with Matt here. Like, I feel like this is a bit of a renaissance, a comeback as it were. So,
and hey, at least we got you here today to chat some Big Brother, talk through some history of the show. But Eric, I just want to catch up with you. Look, if anybody for some reason missed, the BB27 appearance, the post BB27 podcast, just how's everything going?
Life is good, man. I have 2 young kids. I work a lot. I play with the kids. That's pretty much it. It was fun to dip my toes right back into the reality sphere. I do work in unscripted, so I've never really left per se, but on the other side of things. So it was fun to get back in the mix. It was fun. I got to go in the Big Brother house. That was very surreal. After all this time, it looks so amazing on camera, and it looks like a piece of cardboard in person, but it was still exciting.
How did your kids react to seeing you back on TV?
Oh, we did not tell them. I went on a work trip. I did not think the thought of me. My kids are really, really little. I didn't think that me in this like frightening mask, like disrobing, was going to be
fair.
an image that they needed before bedtime.
Fair,
Yeah.
fair.
Someday, sometime. But
like people have been asking about me, like since when we're out and stuff like that. They'll be like, "Oh, like how was your?" And I was like, "My work trip." Let's just keep it calm.
Business trip. Yeah.
It's a little hard to explain,
yeah, understandably so. But just generally, you hop back in for this BB27 season that's now obviously a little bit in the rear view. Just kind of curious also what your thoughts were on the season, and I guess the state of where the show's at today in this new era post All-Stars 26, 27. We got the Blockbuster Arena. There's a lot of different things happening from when you played.
Sure. I think it's been an interesting stretch of the show where there have been really high highs and some low lows as well. I think in general, I would love to see some more people on the show who really know the show and are dying to be on the show, not just trying to be influencers or trying to, put their name out there for anything. And it just so happens to be the show. I absolutely think the show needs recruits. It needs people who play wildly and erratically. And I love all of that. That being said, the front half of this season, forget good or bad gameplay. There was no gameplay. And I don't know. I'm sure this has been discussed at times across your journey here. But in my opinion, if you put up your own ally, a number for you in a numbers game, and they go home on your HOH, you should automatically lose in the first round of this tournament. And that is like the standard gameplay the last few seasons to keep the peace. It's so very kumbaya. And the thought of the house, what does that even mean?
Mm-hmm.
What is the house? Who is the house? What are we actually talking about? So I think the gameplay is so maddening. And I think this is the first time I really digested that in what it means in the modern game, because we got to see it through Rachel's eyes and her frustration as she would tell people their optimal move. And she would explain to them, this is why this will benefit you. And she's 100% correct. And they either couldn't understand, chose not to understand, became angered by it. That leaves you very little room to play. And for me, that's not the part of the show that I like. But,
I do want to say, oh no, go ahead. Sorry if you.
Well, I have found that I used to sometimes hate watch the show, and I would really get frustrated about strategic choices people were making and put myself in their shoes. And I have found that sometimes, for my own peace of mind, watching the show as it's intended for its stupid comedic summer fun is more palatable to me than trying to make heads or tails of why someone is doing something that literally makes no sense whatsoever to someone who understands the game. And this is the first time I really kind of wondered, said, boy, no one would know who I was. I think I could do anything I wanted to, but would they even be responsive to that? Because you could literally tell them the perfect thing to do and they still wouldn't do it. And I do think it just comes down to, it's more about, and this is such in like, I rode my dinosaur to the Big Brother house take. Like, I don't want to be an old head, but it's like, it's more about the TikToks and the Insta lives. And that really is the prize for a lot of these people. And that's fantastic. Dude, I wish that I could have made money doing those things back in the day. That would have been a dream. I would have never even had to pretend I was going to work again, for years afterwards. But the thing is, that's not why most of the OGs wanted to play the game. In my original casting, I said I would play this game in someone's backyard. I'm not here for the cameras. I am here to play this game. Do I think I'll be entertaining doing so? I hope so. But that's a little bit secondary to me. And now you've basically totally flipped that. You have people who don't even understand the game they're playing. And what's so interesting about the exercise you guys are doing is that, athletics, for example, they're played on a relatively level playing field. If you are in the NBA, you're one of the few hundred best players in the entire world, right? But this is like on any given season, you can have LeBron James and you could have a middle school backup. It's like that is the level of disparity of how the players who are playing against each other. And that is not a fair playing field, but also it actually almost makes it more challenging for LeBron. He'd have an easier time playing against all professionals, because when you introduce people that have literally no idea what they're doing and wouldn't even know what their own best interests are, it makes the game a mess. So I think in these past few seasons, we have seen these frustrations through Rachel, through Suri.
Yes.
And we have also seen people like sort of just like run into a wall of circumstance due to the makeup of the house they're in, due to how alliances break down and friendships and showmances break down. And I think that, when I was thinking about joining you guys for this today, just so much of the Big Brother experience are the cards that you're dealt for your season. It is really luck based. The people that you show up with, the twists that are introduced that season. And that's not to say that the outcome isn't fair or the correct outcome of that season. The season plays out the way the season it plays out, but so much of it is dictated by the people you have no control over, the twists you have no control over, and even some of the earliest boots probably are some of the better Big Brother players, and some of the people who are considered like absolute legends of the game, even players who played objectively fantastically on their season, are not that great players because it was just the cards they were dealt. And I think that that's what's so interesting about what you're doing, because it takes a level of sort of subtlety to look behind the layers a little bit and say, like, what were these people really doing in this game beyond their placement?
That's exactly like the pitch, right? Like if I could just, I'm going to record that, and that's the pitch as to why we're having fun doing this podcast. We're just able to have conversations about players that showed a lot of potential, but were taken out early. I mean, the first name that comes to mind for whatever reason, I think her name was Lori on Big Brother 5. Not Lori Baby 3. The one that was like working with Karen and Will, and it was like, oh, these three are so smart, and then Lori stood no chance. This is a bad example, but it's an example of an early player. We had a matchup that was Cappy from BB6. He was up against Adam, the winner of Big Brother 9. Cappy won. So whether that exact matchup is the exact, thing that you're getting at here, just like getting into the details. And you were also saying before we got on about how many details are going to be forgotten of the players from years past. And that's by all of us that are here. Amon and I have been doing a lot of digging through past episodes to try to refresh ourselves and feed recaps and whatnot. But it's hard to remember everything in the same way that we will of like the modern seasons and the modern players. So it is an intriguing project, and I'm glad that it sparked your interest enough to, first of all, come on and join us, but to have some thoughts about it.
Well, I'll say this so you guys don't have to. When you sent me the list of the remaining options on the wheel, it is just littered with the most ridiculous, absurd, tragic people. I started thinking like, I need to send out a search party for some of these people I used to be friends with. I haven't heard from them in 15 years. I don't know what has come of them, how they ever were there in the first place, if they knew where they were when they showed up. Big Brother, I think, even far more so than Survivor, they have placed some truly absurd people inside of this house and people who I'm not even sure they had any business being there. And so it just cracks me up, the walk down memory lane, which I think is so, and what I was immediately like, what were some of the matchups so far that were unfortunate for you guys, who was a terrible player who had to advance because they were against another terrible player, and what was like the most brutal first round elimination because you might randomly get two greats right away, right?
We have the one of the two greats that I can tell you right off the bat. We had Enzo versus Tyler Crispin. That was a round 1 matchup.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah. I will say we have a mechanism in play. It's a battle back that our patrons vote back a player every 5 episodes. So Enzo did come back. But that's the type of tough one. And I want to get into players from your season that have gone through or not gone through. There's an example there of a player who, in my estimation, horrible, but made it through. None other than Kale.
Well, that's absurd. But I do not know what the discussion was surrounding this. However, you did send me the link to my own episode. I saw a little bit in the YouTube comments. I also heard the RHAP retrospective about my season, and there is something I need to clear up right now before this goes any further. Zach Swiderski is one of the single most atrocious Big Brother players that has ever stepped foot in the house. He is a disgrace to Big Brother.
Thank you.
He was a complete asshole. He had zero social capital, zero strategic capital. And I cannot even fathom how history has rewritten itself that he was some sort of endearing underdog or lovable character. He was coming off the heels of 2 seasons of Howie. It's obvious to me that in the edit, that was sort of the energy that they were sort of going for, is like this sort of like goofy, whatever. I lived with this man. He would clear rooms. I have seen him many times in the years afterwards. He is nasty. He is a liar. He is terrible. And will no longer stand for anything that is proclaiming him to be good at all. He was probably, I think we had 14 people in our cast. I would maybe say he was the 12th best player out of 14. And I will, if he moves on again, I'm protesting the whole thing.
Oh no, he did move on.
Oh, thank God.
He lost to funny enough, the aforementioned Lori from Big Brother 5.
Yeah.
All right, good.
So
you guys are on the right
again.
path here. That makes me feel much better about this entire experiment.
Banging the gavel down on what you
I do want to say, and I don't know, this is very ticky-tack of me, right? But I do want to introduce some concepts that you may already be abiding by or may not be. But, since this is my first time here, I want to make sure you guys do not discount the one-time players here. Because it's not my fault that they didn't call me again. It's not Andy's fault that they didn't call Andy again. Vanessa has triplets. Maybe she can't spend 100 days locked into a thing. So, and then while it is very impressive for someone to be able to repeat what they did more than once, and that definitely does something to solidify their place in Big Brother history. Some of the returning seasons are extremely bogus because they are completely dictated by pre-existing relationships. And then some of the people, if you just left them in their first season, would not be considered the players that they are now. Look at a Nicole Franzel. If she was just played once, she is where she is then after her second and third opportunities. But what's to say that if Zach Swiderski played 2 more times, maybe he'd become a legend of the game. We don't know that. So I do think that people's first games are probably the most telling of a random set of circumstances that they're placed into and how that will go for them. The second point I want to make, and this is not to discredit anybody, but it's consider the circumstances of their individual games. So let's take a look at Tyler for a second, right? He played a remarkable game his first time through, considered by everyone to be one of the best we had seen in years. That being said, he had Sam, Angela, Caitlin, JC, all literally in love with him. They were single people that pined after him. Do you think that's a Big Brother game that would have ever been afforded to me? Is that something that I could have done if I walked into the house? So it makes your game a lot easier when you have 4 people tripping over themselves to help you against their own better judgment. Or Paul, another obvious top 20 player in Big Brother history, clearly does it in back-to-back seasons. But on Big Brother 18, Victor got evicted 3 times as Paul's number 1 ally. If those weren't the twists of that season, Paul is evicted in Victor's second and third slots. It's not like he wouldn't have been in the final 2 because they wouldn't have had to spend 3 weeks evicting Victor. They would have just evicted Paul instead of Victor again and Victor again.
Mhm.
And again, this is not Paul's fault. He did not write the script or the rules of what the twists of that season was going to be.
Yeah.
But I do think that as you move forward in this exercise, you really got to dig deep on what specifically they did in order to really determine how impressive it was. And I think you will find some of it is more impressive than you think, and some of it may be a little bit more circumstantial than you think. And I want to make this very clear before people come for my neck. This is not an indictment on Tyler or Paul's game. They are both excellent Big Brother players that would do excellently in most seasons that they played. I'm just saying that there's a lot that goes into how a performance is in any given season.
Aman, you taking notes?
Hey, you don't got to tell me twice. I mean, I feel like these conversations will definitely invite a lot more minute detail discussion as we're progressing deeper into the rounds. The first rounds are kind of a little bit more surface level, just so that we aren't having the same conversations over and over again. By the time we've talked about some of these players for what will undoubtedly be like the 4th time when they're making it through to the next round. So yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. We're definitely going to be taking into account all of the things that came into play, all the twists that may have helped or hindered them. All of that stuff is definitely taken into account for sure.
Now, also, it's not my place to set the rules of your podcast. I'm just, as the Big Brother player I am, just laying the groundwork for my inevitable victory as the best player in Big Brother history. So I just need to take any opportunities of appearances that I have to start slowly discrediting, my opponents. For example, Dan did get an extra veto the week that he was on the block in Big Brother 14.
No, hold on.
That was strange. He also got 6 weeks of safety for no apparent reason. And he was coaching a bunch of people who didn't know he was in the game, so he could lead them to slaughter without them realizing that was happening. But just saying.
I just need any producers that know they're not listening to this, but if they are, Eric wants to win this competition of a podcast that is so silly made by 2 fans of the show. He will do anything to win your show. So that's just my pitch on your behalf. But anyway, on the topic of what you were just saying about, the circumstances and people that play multiple times, I feel like the best example that came to mind on that for me was BB3 winner Lisa was up against Janelle. Who, I guess, let me ask first who you would have voted for there.
Well, I personally probably would have voted for Lisa, but
Lisa went through. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's exactly what you're
That's actually an example almost in the reverse, right? Because the more times Janelle played, that it almost started to discredit some of her earlier game. Whereas if you left her at Big Brother 6 and Big Brother 7, undoubtedly one of the greats of the game, and it's also very tough to parse through. Do I like this person? Were they an exciting television character, or were they a good player? Because those are not necessarily the same thing.
So do you know, off the top of your head? Well, okay, I think, let me say, besides you, who might be a top contender to win this bracket for you? Who do you have up there?
It is tricky, right? For the reasons that I was saying. And I think that if you put this in Survivor terms, is that okay for your audience for just a minute? It reminds me of the discussion of Kim Spradlin prior to Winners at War.
Yeah.
You could not have played One Worlds better than Kim did. So where does that put her compared to the people who had done it 3 times? Or where does that put her into someone who played on a season where the competition was better? The thing is, Kim, she could only play the season that she was on, and she demolished them. So what happened? And so I think that the question becomes is, how do you compare? These are really not apples to apples, right? You want to say it is because they all played Big Brother, but as you get down to it, it's going to be really tough to take a Derek who did it once versus someone who maybe did it time and time again. I will take the opportunity. I know this is someone who has already been discussed, but I will stump a little bit for Andy. And the reason that I will choose to do that is because he is unfortunately misunderstood and I think forgotten in Big Brother history by the producers. The fans, I think, sort of discredit him because of his own antics and online shenanigans and things of that nature. But the fact of the matter is he had the entire house eating out of the palm of his hands. He could have gone in several directions. He had people so twisted up, they were eliminating people that were very loyal to them, that would have never turned on them. And then he did something that has happened on rare occasion on Survivor, but almost never on Big Brother. He completely reshuffled the deck, sort of twice, where he rode his allies, pitted them against each other, chose a side, and then took the bottom feeders, the absolute goats of the house, realigned with them, and dragged them to the end of the game, and then kicked their ass in all the remaining competitions and speeches. And it was a demolition. And there were other good players that season, but because of the subtlety of it and the nuance of it, I think that people don't understand it. And because the show hasn't talked about it for years and years and years and brought him back for onstage interviews and things of that nature, I think he gets a bum rap in the annals of like the lore of Big Brother. He played an impeccable game. I mean, he was really in zero danger, had a million avenues that he could have gone in. Was it the most enjoyable to watch? It wasn't. And he wouldn't tell you that it was either. But I think this is one of the huge disconnects between production and the players, is that we have a lot of money on the line when we go into the house. And yes, many of the legends have been able to balance the game and the TV show. And that, I think, is what makes you really legendary to the fandom. But the objective is to win the game and win the money. And if you meet Andy in real life, Andy is a ridiculous, character. He could have been big for the TV show. He could have carried the weight of the entertainment. He focused on the game. And he mopped the floor with them. So that's somebody that, immediately jumps to mind as a really strong contender. I'm not saying he's the best to ever play. I'm not going to plant that flag here today for anybody. I'm just saying he's someone who gets lost in the discussion a little bit unfairly to him, because people just find him annoying and because the show hasn't beaten us over the head with the idea that he was this great winner. So he's the first person that immediately jumped to mind.
Yeah. I mean, the large elephant in the room is that it's BB15, and it's just such a hard thing to sort of like overcome, narratively speaking, in terms of like the greater conversation of the show. But 100% in the fact that like his game is definitely, well, I don't necessarily know if Andy's game is necessarily underrated in certain spaces. I will say that like I feel like at least the online Big Brother community has done a very good job of singing Andy's praises and allowing him the space to be like, look, like, you actually ate that season up. You ate it up. It was surrounded by a bunch of toxicity, but you ate it up. And obviously, sometimes, people tend to rag on Andy because of his, as you mentioned, the online antics. But I agree. I think he'll last, at least on this podcast. He will last for quite some time. So we'll see.
Yeah, definitely worthwhile to throw that out there. I will say, I feel like around here, that may be a reminder that isn't needed, just because I know that the two of us are very high on Andy's game. I would not be surprised to see him go farther, if not all the way, compared to some of the more commonly discussed, greatest and more likely to win by, average consensus opinion. But hey, that's why we're doing the whole podcast all the way through. Before we get to any players today, I have one last thing, Eric, I want to bring up to you, and that is your season, and just quickly go over the players that have or have not gone through the first round alongside you. You've made it through the first round here. Did you have any nerves about your matchup against Big Brother 4's David Lane? I mean,
that is a tough draw for anybody in the first round. But yeah, I'm glad I survived by the skin of my teeth.
So joining you in the next round from your season, I will say the only person who has not come up yet, maybe it'll happen today, is Nick. Otherwise, the players that have gone through to the next round, we have Kale, we have Jen, Jessica, maybe you've heard of her. Also, the final two, Danielle and Dick.
So that means that everyone else appeared and lost.
Carol, Joe, Mike, Dustin, Amber, Jamaica, and Zach all lost, unfortunately for them.
So, of course, I don't know the matchups. Off the top of my head, Dustin was a very good player. He went home under mortifying circumstances, but circumstances that never would have happened if it wasn't for America's player. So as someone who played with him, he would have gone very far in the game under normal pretenses. I think he probably would have been like one of my final bosses that I needed to overcome towards the end, for sure. And then I will say that Amber, while really very unstable and also very stupid, she was not a bad Big Brother player because, like I said before, if I'm playing against a logical or good Big Brother player, I know exactly what their next move is going to be because it would be my next move. So it's very easy to anticipate. But when you're playing against someone like Amber, who is completely unglued, very emotional, that is a much more of a landmine to your game. Whether it is by intention or not, well, that's a different story. I'm not saying that she came in with the plan, but she told us on day one, I am extraordinarily manipulative in my regular life, and I'm going to be here. And it was effective. People fall into the trap of the emotion and the bonds that you are creating. They're the only two that stand out to me as like, okay, I could have seen an argument, a world in which they advanced. I think all of the others, I could see the world in which they advance. I do wonder if some of them were maybe advancing more on their popularity than their actual performance, potentially. Some of them were not so great at the game.
If we had 3 hours of your time today, we would go into each matchup because I would love to pick your brain. But I will just say kind of quickly, the other one that I thought you might have mentioned might maybe be Jamaica. She ended up losing to Rennie.
So yeah, Jamaica's a way better player than Rennie. Jamaica was a really good player. In modern Big Brother, she would have a lot of problems because she would not be able to win a key competitions when they matter.
Well, but is she allowed to play in them?
Yeah, right. But that being said, and yes, if you are really like parsing through it, her veto choices dictated by God probably were not the best strategic gameplay that you could possibly imagine. But she was so well liked and easy to work with inside of the house. I mean, I have not talked to her in a very long time, and I still think so fondly of the time and laughs that I had with her. She's like really a very charming, and she did something which comes up, every few seasons you get a player like this. But that is so remarkably special in Big Brother. She just shut her mouth. She would just say, and let people hang themselves and give her information. And she therefore was very tied in. I just don't think that she ultimately had like the force to push through her agenda in a house where there was just a couple of absolute tornadoes, blasting through. But I think if Jamaica played especially an OG season, like 100 times, she would be like a final 6 player, probably literally almost every single time. So in terms of that, I would say that she was a very good player. And then I will say, unprovoked, I think that Jessica gets a very unfair short side of the stick because of her association with me, where people sometimes consider her to be sort of like a secondary ally, I'm the big one and she's the little one. That's not what happened. We really worked together in tandem. She won HOHs that propped up my game. She was the last person nominated on our season. She also was extremely well liked, and she, alongside of Dustin, alongside of Amber, alongside of Jamaica, and Jen, they were victims of America's Player. The end game of my season would have all been there.
Yep.
So that it kind of like makes it incredibly difficult, probably more so than maybe any other season, to fairly sort through.
That's come up in every conversation
season
with them.
Yeah.
Every time we come up, any of them come up, it's like, well, if not for this, maybe they would have had a better chance, and so on and so forth. Amber, particularly, also her matchup, a very emotional person on the show, Amber, against a very emotional person on the show, Josh Martinez, was her.
That's
matchup.
A tough one. Yeah, I do not think I would have put Amber through on that one.
Yeah, so it's been a wild ride so far. Again, Nick is the only one left, but at the very least, a pretty strong showing from Big Brother 8 going into the next round. Aman, anything else before we start to pull a player?
No, I'm excited to start biting into the rest of these matchups and see what happens.
Wherever this takes us, I'm so excited. Eric, it's just genuinely so fun to hear you talk about Big Brother. I mean, the Summer of Stein series, one of the best podcast series that have ever existed in the world of Big Brother. Just to hear you get to talk about the show that you were so passionate about, for how many summers was that? 2, 3, 4? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was 2 proper, and then we did, I think, 1 or 2 celebrity as well. It was right around that time.
Yeah. Well, let's get talking about some of the players here. Maybe players that you podcast about during those seasons, or maybe players that haven't come up in your thought process in
I'm
a
sure
long
you get
time.
this a lot. I mean, you guys are going to cover all of them, but for the guests, this is pretty nerve-wracking because A, I know a lot of these people. B, I hate a lot of these people. I'm hoping for someone that can really dig in on that is absolutely never going to watch this or hear about it. That's my hope.
That is probably 97% of the players. And anybody that may actually watch this, I think you said a lot of really nice things about them about 20 minutes ago. So shout out to Andy. I think he's still hanging out with us most of the time. Anyway, let us get into whoever the heck is going to be the first player of the day, as Eric's nerves are shaken like he's about to reveal himself to be the mastermind. BB16, Amber Borzocha.
Okay.
So Eric started out today by stumping for some of the players that go out early, maybe because they're a threat. I don't know if that exactly is this. It's a little bit of that. We also just spent a lot of time talking about emotional Ambers, and Amber B, I think, somewhat lines up with that. But Eric, I think you can also speak to a little bit Amber's running the challenge. Have you kept up enough?
I have. So how are you guys factoring in some of the additional information that you know about these players beyond their first seasons?
Luckily for Aman, he doesn't know any of the information, but I do bring it in and tell him about how their challenge appearances have gone. If it factors in, it factors in, but we try to keep it on what we saw in Big Brother. Let me get Amber up on the screen, and Aman, notes from the wiki.
Yeah, Amber began the game in a comfortable position, being a part of the bomb squad and having close relationships with many of the outsiders. However, after Amber's ally Devin blew up the alliance, Amber became a large target for many of the other house guests due to her comp prowess and Caleb's controversial obsession with her. The detonators, who had become the new majority alliance, set in motion a plan to backdoor her during week 5. Amber was successfully backdoored and evicted by a vote of 9-0, placing 12th.
I will say, though, Eric, what I remember of her time on Big Brother 16, she gets into this big alliance early on, and eventually they all decide she's got to go, whether it has to do more with Caleb or not. I feel like we've been getting a lot of similar story from people that don't want to work with her on the challenge, saying that she is not, I don't know, not the best person to work with, that she gets paranoid, all this kind of stuff. There's just been so much negative buzz around her in these games, where that's not what I got just from watching the first time around.
Well, the good news is I do not think that she'll be watching this. So I do,
No.
do feel at ease talking about this. I think that she has an incomplete on her Big Brother season. It's really tough to ascertain what she was bringing or not bringing to the table because of the giant beast mode cowboy that hangs over this. And I think that we were all so thrilled to see her get the opportunity on the challenge, which seemed like such a deep cut at the time. And then it paid off. She became a challenge winner right away, which is another social strategy game, another comp-based game. And so the chops are in there for sure. And there's nothing I hate more on Big Brother than when things that are really truly outside of the game dictate the fact that you really have no chance. That was so much of BB 15, so much of BB 21, and definitely happened here. Where he was just an influential force in the house, and I mean, they just did his bidding here. Now that's disgusting. I hope that some of the people that were party to it regret that now. And I don't think that she had a fair shake in the house whatsoever. That being said, was she about to go on some great run if she had stayed in the house? No, I don't think so. I don't think she had a lot of room to grow from where she was. I don't think those relationships were there. I don't think there was a move in her arsenal that was going to dramatically change her fate. I think probably a best case scenario, even if you take the beast mode aside entirely, is probably finishing 6th or 7th, as a low tier member of a majority alliance, and then just sort of like trimming the fat at the end.
Yeah.
But then, if you are considering those external factors, we did get to see that there is a little more game to be played when she did have the runway on the challenge. But if we are looking strictly at BB 16, very unfortunate, bullshitty, gross circumstances. But while that makes me root for her, it makes me thrilled she got an opportunity to show her real self in the future. Does it make her a great Big Brother player? Probably not. I feel like we have Ambers all the time on the show. There's a lot of Amber-esque characters on the show. And they are often a little bit interchangeable, or just sort of like, I don't know. I'm not sure what her peak in this game could have been.
Let's not forget that challenge run comes because she was back in the mix for BB22. She was an alternate for that season, and then all of a sudden she gets kind of passed along to MTV. They pick her up, and next thing you know, she's the challenge champion. Aman, I feel like a little bit of her story in BB16 is giving like a light version of what Taylor went through in 24, of just like completely being like treated like shit basically for no good reason, and isolating her and making her feel less than, and making her feel like everything that was going wrong in the house for her alliance. Well, Taylor didn't have an alliance at this point, but everything was just her fault.
Yeah, it was definitely strange. She didn't really seem to be able to go to many places without having to dodge like emotional landmines that Caleb was leaving out. And then other people that were aligned with Caleb only seeing it from his point of view, framing everything as, oh, she's betraying his loyalty. She is not appreciative of what he's doing for her. Like the whole pickle fiasco of him suffering eating a pickle for her. Like it was like, why is she being confined into only being allowed to play within this specific arena with him? It was very, very odd. and she tried to get something going with the girls, but the girls that she was approaching were already a part of the majority alliance. So to them, it was kind of just like, you're the next one out. And the mob mentality and BB16 for the first half of it was so intense that there really wasn't anything to do. Once you were the target that week, you were the target. And she was very independent. She, when the bomb squad did sort of like dissipate, she didn't grovel. She didn't automatically try to get in with the detonator. She was very much like one track mind. I'll figure this out. Females, let's do this girl strong. And that was just threatening to people like Frankie, people like Derek, and obviously Caleb. So yeah, but I mean, I also agree with you, Eric. Like, I don't necessarily know if she was like the best in terms of like getting people onto her side outside of the Caleb fiasco. Now it makes it very hard to divorce Caleb from her game. But at the same time, I kind of like, just based off of her personality type and how it was, she wasn't really vibing with a lot of the people on the cast, period. I just kind of feel like I don't know how far she really has to go. She was sweet. She was likable. No one disliked her for any good reason, mind you. But yeah, I just don't know.
I don't think they truly disliked her, but they made it out like they disliked her because it was so easy to then have the mob go after her because of that.
Right. But I think that's because this was Derek and Frankie's season with an assist from Cody winning challenges, and the others, sprinkling them in.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was a distraction to one of their allies. So they wanted her gone. Just like you just said, Amon, she had independent thought. She did not grovel to them. That's a reason that the power players want her out as well. So I don't think there was a lot of room to maneuver, but what that really boils down to then is she got her butt kicked by the majority alliance. So then, how great did she play, circumstances or otherwise? That being said, this is one of these very pre-diversity initiative seasons where we've got men, predominantly white men, who are basically marching to the end together. And I don't think we're leaving a lot of room for anybody else to come with them. And when you win every single competition, then there is no recourse for the other players. So they took out anybody who could have even been a little hiccup for them early on, whether the people were messy, whether they were adjacent to someone that they wanted to keep on their own leash. And I think that's, she was eliminated by proxy because she was a distraction or an agitation to one of their allies that they were bringing to the end no matter what. So yeah. I think, it is the circumstances, but at the same time, they were all on a level playing field. She could have been in a majority alliance. She just wasn't. I would say she was highly mediocre.
Yeah, I think she, if I'm being honest, I don't know that I see her having the skills to go all the way to the end, kind of like you were just saying earlier, Eric, about like, maybe she can finish in like a 6th or 7th place spot is probably like mostly where I see her ceiling being as well. The success on a show like The Challenge comes in the way that you can win yourself the game essentially by getting farther enough and then like winning the physical competition to get yourself the championship there. In this arena, I don't know. I feel like she's not really someone that can hold back how she's feeling well enough to get to the end. I would love to see her play in a modern cast rather than when she did and with the people that she did for sure. But
here's a question. Let's say she was on BB22. How does she do there? I mean, ironically, I think she actually faces probably almost the identical circumstances because the committee is almost the same exact alliance as the detonators,
to say,
winning the same competitions again with the same white guys.
I remember even Nicole not even liking her during Big Brother 16. So we kind of know.
Right. But there is that factor, right? That half their cast was on, 22. So that she may, but maybe
it might have been something. But like, I mean, look at like I know Tyler and Barry is a different story. Like, it wasn't always just like, oh, I'm connected to somebody. The committee was just disgustingly, beneficial. All right. Well, we do need to find Amber an opponent, and we'll put all of this to the test here with Eric to see what's really is more valued. But look, there's also plenty of really bad players left, so this could be easy for Amber. Could be tough. Only one way to find out.
Oh my god. What is
Up
gonna
next
happen?
today,
I
pick
feel like it's gonna be
number 2.
BB27.
It is BB27, and no one can believe me, or no one's gonna care. But looking at the wheel, I was like, it's gonna be Amber versus Amy.
I
Match
felt
made
it in my
on.
bones.
I felt it was gonna be Amy, not just BB27. So there's that.
Well, this just
Big
got
Brother,
interesting.
this
Yeah.
is interesting.
It got interesting for me because after discussing Amber, I was not feeling great about her chances, but now I
Mhm.
feel like we've got a matchup on our hands. Of course, I am a little biased here because I did hand select
That's
Amy out of the thousands
true.
of applicants to be my mastermind's accomplice.
That
So
is
I may have to bow out of this vote potentially.
That's true. You are extremely biased here. You picked Amy. She did your task, and she allowed the Mastermind's mission to be played out. No notes, of course, from the BB Wiki right now on Big Brother 27 players, but we know the story. We just watched it. Amy goes out second overall on Jimmy's HOH week. Kind of crazy that we couldn't get Jimmy and Amy back on the same page, but she's so tightly connected with Rachel. And, if we can't get Rachel right away, maybe we can at least start knocking out some of her allies, including Amy, or especially Amy, who a lot of people were having a hard time connecting with. I guess the theme of the day is emotional players, and Amy certainly was somebody who was considered that by a lot of the cast. So she had a rough go of it. She, I believe, set a record. Does that sound right to you guys? I think for like the most eviction votes ever received just by nature of having been on the block with so many votes eligible for the first 2 weeks. So if that is true and a record she's holding, at least she made history on the way out. But Eric, again, you handpicked her and she had a short and sweet time in there.
Yes, well, I did see just a special glimmer in her, which is why I knew I needed her to flip that switch or whatever it is that she did on night one. I don't think she did much. She was not great. She really wasn't.
Yeah.
Anytime you're isolating yourself and you have very few allies and you're out of the action of the house and you're in the minority group of the house, it's not where you want to be in week 1 and 2. She had a very powerful ally, but as we saw, that actually was a detriment to her because she ended up evicted by proxy as just sort of like as you said, a casualty of Rachel's circumstance. I don't think that she made many moves. I don't think she was particularly well aligned. I don't think she put up an enormous fight when she was in danger. So yeah, this is someone who, if we were talking about Amy and she was on 15 seasons ago, this would not be someone that we would have like a massive memory of. The first person that came to mind to comp her to was actually Summer of Steve 2018. He had that one ally in Scotty. They sat in the backyard, they hung out all the time, and then he went home, and he just never really like found his footing with the group. I like to see players, especially big fans who really want to be there, fighting tooth and nail, even if their situation is bleak. I want to see some level of passion or effort to stay there. And I feel like as soon as she was on the outs, she just kind of rolled over and just said, see ya. So for me, not crazy impressed by Amy's gameplay.
The difference between Summer of Steve and Amy, Amon, is that Steve, I don't think, ever formed a distrust of Scotty. Amy, by the time she was evicted, was talking to Ashley on a daily basis about, so Rachel doesn't really have our backs, does she? It's like, yes, she does.
Yeah. The more we're talking about this, I'm like, this might actually just be a straight up layup because Amy, I mean, if it felt like she should have been in a pretty decent spot considering who was in power during the week that she went home. Like her and Jimmy kind of like hit it off in the beginning, and then all of a sudden things just went sour so much so to the point where Jimmy started spending so much less time with her, and like more and more time with Vince that week. And it was just like, how did you fumble this? Now, was it still like the most opportune thing for Jimmy to get Amy out during his HOH? No, there were definitely more people, better people that he should have gone after. So like I won't put it all on her, but like it really did feel like she was sort of like just on her own most of the time. The campaigning was lackluster, the strategy talk was lackluster. It kind of just felt like she had the fear of, embarrassing her children and like being one of the first people out. And I feel like it was kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Everything that she could have done wrong, she kind of did wrong in 2 weeks. So yeah, it was definitely a rough showing for her.
And her
for
presence
sure.
wasn't really missed, I would say, by at least where I was sitting when she went home. It's not like she was adding a lot to the house. It was a lot of paranoia, which is fun, but it kind of served its purpose within the 2 weeks. And I also will say, looking at the BB Wiki for Amy, it does confirm she holds the American record for the most number of eviction votes received in a single season with 18.
Damn.
I mean, if you're gonna go out early, at least be memorable for that. At least have a record.
Make a record,
Like you said,
baby.
I think that's great. Now, before we move forward, I do have to ask you guys. I feel like I was just hyper critical with nary a complimentary word for either of these people. Do you guys really dig in on people in this way, or am I like now like the vilest person you've ever had as a guest?
No. There have been people that have gone harder than you.
Okay, because I will amend my prior statements. I think they're both excellent Big Brother players.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're not saying anything about these people as people.
No, it's what we saw, and there's plenty of actually bad people that it's been worthwhile to go into some of that as well. So, no, I mean, there's I think at certain points, especially when you get competitions that are closer, you start to have to go into like the positives about certain people. So you'd really have to see what are the bright sides of Amber. It's like, well, we don't really have to get into that right now because this may be an easy matchup. So no, you're good. But with that all said, Amy and Amber are the two matched up here. One of them goes through, one of them stays behind. Eric, as our guest, would you like to cast your vote first?
Well, after we painted such a flattering picture of her game, I have to say this is a no-brainer for Amber. A surprise Amber victory. We described a situation in which maybe she finished in 6th, 7th place as a member of Majority Alliance. I don't see that outcome for Amy. I see Amy as being someone who could be lost to time on Big Brother. Again, I would be delighted to meet her and swap stories and welcome her into the family. This is not an indictment of her, the person. I just don't think she really made her stamp on the game. So I think I certainly remember a lot more about Amber, and Amber played 11 years earlier. So my vote is for Amber.
Amy's not in the group chat, the Mastermind group chat with you, Frankie, Jesse. She didn't get the...
She's a little upset. She thought we were going to help her more in the game.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I probably would have felt the same way.
I figured Nicole Franzel's in there as well. You figured she was going to be there, so you just preemptively had her in the chat. But anyway, all right. Well, Amber's going to get my vote as well. Aman, were you going to throw some love to Amy?
Yeah, no. Amber will be getting my vote. But love you, Amy girl. It's been
Thanks
real.
for stopping by. And I will say it was actually a 4-0 vote. Eric, we have votes from patrons of the podcast that they get to cast. And Bailey cast a vote onto Amber. If there had been a tie, and if there had been a 2-1 vote, if even one person voted for Amber and the other 2 people voted for Amy, Amber still would have gone through on a patron tie. So even less pressure than maybe you guys were aware of. But Amber goes through to the next round. Who's next?
Who shall it be?
A very healthy amount of BB27 on this wheel.
Along the wheel of destiny.
Oh, goodness gracious. Speaking of people who deserve a lashing, lashing into with our words on this podcast. Big Brother
That's like, goodness
9,
gracious.
the season right after Eric plays Big Brother, comes around. It's one of the most praised seasons of the show. And along that season comes a man by the name of Joshua.
Alrighty. Okay.
How
Go ahead,
many
Josh.
of these wheel spins result in this groan that I just felt deep inside of me when I saw this man's name? I felt such immediate disgust. I just can't imagine, out of the hundreds upon hundreds of people you're discussing, the unfortunately large number that elicit that response. But I was hoping I could get out of today scot-free and not talk about the problematic house guests of Big Brother. But
Sorry.
this was legitimately one of the single most vile people to ever step foot in the house. Now, that is a tough bar to reach, and
Yep.
and people present that in all different despicable ways, but this is one nasty piece of work, that's for sure.
Yeah. Do I even need to read the notes? Okay.
I mean,
I'll
I
read
guess,
the notes.
does it have like specifics to remind anybody?
Yeah. Okay. His Joshua, his first soulmate in the game was Neil until he walked from the game. His second soulmate was Sharon. Joshua was evicted in
He
week
became
7.
straight overnight.
Yeah, the BB conversion therapy. What can I
Yeah.
tell you? Joshua was evicted in week 7 in a 3-1 vote, placing 7th. He is mostly remembered for getting into a huge fight with Amanda and telling her to hang herself.
Yeah, and just the additional context of that, trigger warning, I guess, on the topic of people taking their own life. Amanda's dad had taken his own life soon before she went on to play Big Brother. And not only did Josh tell Amanda to do the same thing, but he said, just like your dad, do this just like your dad. We have seen some vile people in that house. Eric, I can't even imagine, like, again, coming out of your season, you're in this whirlwind of like, I just played Big Brother. This is crazy. All these people know me, blah, 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 blah. And a season, it's not even like the next summer comes around. Like this season is, I don't know how long it was, a couple of weeks later. And then this is the person that's in the house.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's no game element to conduct like that. It's not even like he was being used to his advantage. We have seen people, we've seen, a parade of racists and sexists and all sorts of terrible people play this game. But there was no intent behind his actions other than being hurtful, and not even in a game way. It was not to sort of limit her game. There was no strategy to it. This is obviously what he would have said to her if they were at a bar together instead. And to be someone who has that within you, to think, let alone say on national television, let alone say in a game where you are trying to get people to vote for you, is so far beyond any reasonable conduct or thought process that a sane human being or a decent human being would have, that it is almost impossible to fathom what he was going for or thinking, other than the fact that he probably is just rotten to the core. And this is not a fun villain, a Big Brother villain. This is not a fun TV character. This is just a complete piece of crap who somehow caused enough drama during casting that he got on the show. And in my rewriting of Big Brother history, there is no place for these types of idiots. And we know there's been a lot of them on the show, but he's up there. He's a low life guy. And if that was his strategy, as far as I remember, his strategy was sort of mean girl gossiping, which can go a really long way and has worked wonders for many people, myself included at times. I'm not claiming that's not a way you play Big Brother. I just don't think there was any game or strategic intent behind it in his case. This was just someone who was actually talking shit in the backyard. It came to a head, and we never saw him again. Thank God.
He also
I've
said,
never heard of a single person in the Big Brother sphere who's ever even had so much as an interaction or a conversation with him.
good. That means you're hanging around the right people, obviously. But besides, the other stuff we just said that he said to Amanda, he also, television cameras are on you, and he says that he would slap the shit out of her if she wasn't a girl. And that's probably like some of the lighter things that he was saying. It was absolutely insane. There's really not much more to say besides that. And it's crazy because this is a person who, by the game standards, wasn't doing horribly. He had allies because it was a house filled with horrible people. He had people that he was working with. He has almost a move when I don't know if it was like final 7, 8, I don't know, but there was a point where Adam had won HOH and Joshua does like a very convincing job at getting Adam to not put him on the block because he convinced him that they would be able to work together, and Sharon goes up instead of him. I think that's the week that Chelsea goes home. There's some game there, but this is not a person that, first of all, should have been on the show or deserves any kind of praise for anything like that, just because he truly is some of the top worst that Big Brother's ever had to offer him on.
Yeah, I mean, his game is like a fever dream powered by Red Bull and hatred. Like just a nasty hurricane of a player, just loud, always getting into confrontations with people, always in the middle of the drama, whether he caused it or not. He would cause the drama all the time. But to what you were saying earlier, underneath all the insults and just barrage of like vitriol, there was a person that did sort of understand the game for what it was. He had connections. He could really, really rally you to his side and really rally you to his cause. But like that was like, he's so volatile of a person. It's like you really want him on your side, but the minute that he's not on your side, it just gets nasty. It's so bad. It's so bad. He wasn't a comp beast, so he really couldn't even like back all that shit talk up with, protecting his own. And so that ultimately will end up being his own undoing. But
like, it couldn't have been Neil that stayed and Joshua that had to go. Like, we never got to know Neil.
Well, I mean, now Neil dodged a bullet. Okay.
Yeah. What I will say though, I think you just made some really great points about the potential pros of his Big Brother game, not him the person, is that these tornado type of players, I would want to steer clear of him too. I'm not let them spin their way out of the house or get into the fight with the other person while I'm eating my snack in the hot tub. But I would never try to poke the bear on someone that is this inflammatory, this gossipy. So I do think that that's actually something that you could say is favorable in his gameplay, is that he had a big voice and a destructive one, and that made him a scary player to play against. And I will say, like, being a good person and being charismatic, those are two very separate things.
Yep.
So he could be really fun in the backyard to swap stories with about, his exes and whatever, other shenanigans he wants to get into. And those players can go a really long way on Big Brother. You are there. It's a lot of time to kill, and people who are dynamic to be around and have stories to tell and can bring you into their web in that way. That's a social game in a way that we never even see it depicted on the main TV show, that only the deepest feedsters really can understand, is that, it might not seem game related, but people are bonded to this person. And I do think that he had several people in that house that liked him. They even probably liked him after these outbursts and these, horrible behaviors. And so, and it's been proven time and time again, bashing people behind their back is probably the number one most effective way to play Big Brother. It just so happens that he stepped far over the line of what, human decency dictates. But, we've seen many of the greats use this as a strategy. And I also believe, and maybe modern Big Brother, thankfully, is moving away from this. But I know one of my big, like, fundamental principles of strategy in the early years was, if you have someone on the ropes, you put your foot on them and you end them in the game. You dogpile on someone when they are in trouble in the game. And he's that type of player. He isolated and then piled on. And as long as you push someone in front of you, in front of the bus before you, it will never be you, right? So he's that type of player. It's like, oh, he sees weakness in someone. He sees that they're in danger, they're in jeopardy, they're on the outs, and he steamrolled them. So, that can be effective. It's just, as you now look back upon it, we're not living it at the time. We have the benefit of actually seeing the bigger 360 picture of it all. It's trash. And it didn't work for him. But that being said, I do believe there were times in the house in the moment that it definitely was working for him. So I don't know if we want to credit him for that as being a complete piece of garbage. But, he's certainly not the worst Big Brother player. He's just the worst human. Right.
Besides being like a shitty human being, I almost wonder if, because I've never thought of it this way, but he comes right after Big Brother 8. Like watching the winner of Big Brother 8 act the way that he did in the house, I wonder if that has any influence on people that were competing on Big Brother 9 of like, this is what gets the crowd going.
Well, I always thought that like we were on the heels, right in the same generation of Rock of Love and things of that nature. And this is probably just those 2 seasons back to back specifically. I feel like the casting skewed a little bit towards that trashier side of reality. It was also, Allison and Rich's first seasons at the helm. And I think that they were steering it towards where they thought reality was going at a time. I do think we got probably a little bit of a reset with 10. But then it was kind of back with 11. I think 11 kind of fits with 9 and 8 in terms of what the casting was and the types of personalities that we saw there. So I definitely think there's something to that. I think that they probably pitched him up the ladder as like, oh, well, we can have the gay evil dick. I think that like they don't really think much beyond the real basic stereotyping of these type of characters. So I do believe what you're saying is probably true. But the thing is, like, for all of his behaviors, like Dick does have a certain level of charm to him when you are speaking to him. Joshua really does not. Like he's like if you took off any facade of entertainment and just left the garbage.
He's mean gay.
Right.
He's just mean evil gay. Like just horrible.
I am constantly referring to Big Brother 9 as like the MTV Big Brother season. So, just kind of lines up exactly with what you're saying, Eric, of what they were looking for out of the season. And the grouping there with 11 makes a lot of sense when you kind of take a zoom out on what was happening for Big Brother at the time. This feels like it'll be a very lucky spin for whoever comes next. But I will say there are other Big Brother 9 cast members here that could go up against Joshua. Let's see.
There are plenty of despicable people who have been on Big Brother.
Yeah.
But in a world where this is just a good spin for someone, is that person Swaggy C?
Wow. I mean, talk about, okay. This is interesting.
This is a matchup. Swaggy C is the name drawn, of course, from Big Brother 20. I don't know, back to back. Well, not back to back, but after Amy was just picked, now Swaggy's picked. These second evicted from the house players coming up and really testing the theory that we were talking about earlier of maybe players that went out earlier could be better than those who went deeper into the game. But let's talk about it. Amon, do we have notes on Swaggy C?
Yes, we do. Swaggy C winning 2 out of the first 3 comps of the season. Swaggy C made waves in the first week. He was quick to form alliances and make strong connections in the house. However, with immunity from eviction, he was unafraid to say what was on his mind, which put a target on his back with former Alliance member Caitlyn. This came to a head when Caitlyn flipped on the Alliance in the week 1 vote, and then as HOH backdoored Swaggy. He was unsuccessful in gathering the votes to save himself and was evicted in an 8-4 vote, coming in 15th place.
Speaking of challenge contestants from Big Brother, yep, Swaggy was there for maybe half a season, but probably even still making it much farther into the challenge, made more of a splash in the Big Brother world. The Swaggy and Bailey duo still together to this day, very much so. Just broke through as like a all-time Big Brother power couple just by like name, not obviously in the game per se, although Swaggy does come back around on finale night with the big proposal that sent shockwaves through I guess anybody who had not gotten to know Swaggy C offline by that point. Of course, there's also the story of, or maybe not a story, but the real life scenario of the fact that Bailey had been pregnant in the house. And that is just a big topic of discussion after all said and done. So the mark that Swaggy and Bailey made on the game, eventually Bailey's going to come back for All Stars. And we're still going to be kept up to date about what Swaggy has going on. A big character. The game, well, tough to really find a ton of good in, but of course, as Amon pointed out, Eric, it wasn't exactly his fault that Caitlyn and ended his game a little sooner than was expected.
Well, this is definitely an interesting character in the Big Brother history.
Mhm.
I feel like he's far more memorable than he is good at the game per se. He is definitely someone that has standed the test of time as a personality. This is exactly, as a casting director, who you want to walk through your door. This man is a mega type A personality that is not going to bend that for anyone under any circumstance. He is going to state his opinion. He's going to stand up to it. He's going to stand up for his wife. He's going to stand up for what he believes to be true in the house. That being said, he had virtually no finesse in doing so whatsoever, fought with everyone to make those points. And when they weren't being received in the way he wanted, he just got louder. And it didn't convert the votes that he needed. So I'm not really sure that there is a world in which on Big Brother 20, this was going to end well for him. He seemed to lack the self-control that is necessary. When you look at a player like Derek, who has this sort of like very boring precision about the game and everything is so calculated. And then you look at a player like a Swaggy, where he just has absolute verbal diarrhea of anything that he is thinking, and he just cannot contain himself. As I said, amazing casting, amazing television, not a great ally, not a great player. Now, this all being said, let's just say he got the Jesse treatment, right? And let's say he came back immediately the following season. I could see a world with the right people and the right mix in where Swaggy led an alliance to the end of the game. And I am not saying this like just to be contrarian or like make a funny point. I really do believe he has the pull. He has the charisma. He can rally people behind him. But in the only game we saw him play, he did not do that, and he could not do that. Do I think he has it potentially within him? Yes, but the first time he spun himself out in a way that he was never going to recover from. And then, of course, it is hard to also look at these like without everything you know about the people. And, you know, there have been times that the fan base have thought of Swaggy as a little bit, you know, delusional potentially, or someone who is not necessarily the most honest portrayer of his life and circumstances. I know nothing of this one way or another, but that's certainly like a discourse that I have seen that, you know, potentially he is a bit of like a bullshitter, which could be either a good or a bad thing inside of the house. Or it may not even be true. I have no idea. This is just simply the buzz that I have read about him online.
In your line of thinking of that he could lead an alliance and lead a season, which I do agree with, I think that bullshitting would be very beneficial for him. And I think he would do a really good job with it. At the end of the day, like, everyone's got their opinions on Swaggy, and I think that a lot of them, as far as I've noticed over the years, have been rather negative. But if there's one thing that I would never call this man, it's not intelligent. It's not like he is a smart guy, and whether that translates to like a successful social game that would do well on his first time around, like especially as a returnee, I could see that path for him easy. On his first time around, could I see it like, but if had not for Caitlyn, I guess, maybe not like guaranteed, but I do think that he is 100%, like you said, a casting producer's wet dream. I'm thinking of like his eviction day. Amon, his entire alliance was wearing Swaggy C-shirts. They were all like, he had some good connections with people that wanted to see him stick around and that really liked him.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, like he got taken out mostly by Tyler here. It just there was just he just didn't see it coming, and that's like what makes the move so good on Tyler's part, is that he didn't even view Tyler as someone that he had to be worried about. You have level 6 who they don't know about, and then you have Falte, and then you have Caitlyn spilling the beans to Tyler, kind of like what you were alluding to earlier, Eric. Pretty much telling Tyler everything about what was going on with her side of the house. And there were conversations with Swaggy C talking about how Caitlyn can just be a little unstable. He was never planning on turning on her, never planning on kicking her out, but it was enough ammo for Tyler to then go and say to Caitlyn, like, look, like, I know that you trust this guy, but you might want to think about showing him the back door, because I've been hearing some stuff and yada, yada, yada. He already kind of espoused himself as like the leader of the alliance. So much so, like you said, that he has people wearing Swaggy C-shirts. So it's like, he just didn't even know that Tyler was going to be the one that was going to be his enemy, because he thought he was cool with Tyler too. So it
just to play devil's advocate here, I mean, like Devin Shepard was the leader of his alliance until he wasn't also. Like there are plenty of people who come out of the gates strong that have tons of allies that crash and burn in the game. And he did come in 15th place. We're not talking about someone who went super far and just got clipped by like a superior player. That being said, Big Brother is like littered with the corpses of casualties of the greats. Tyler is one of the greats, right? So is it actually a feather in Swaggy's cap that Tyler saw so early on that this was someone that he had an opportunity to get out, who he was threatened by, and he took that opportunity? I think that actually might be a point in his favor. But that being said, he still lost to Tyler. He still went home in that position, so it's not that great. But yes, I think he went home being a threat, which is a lot more than we can say for, say, Amy, who we previously discussed. She just went home for being a nothing. Swaggy made his presence known. He was a huge part of the house, and then he paid the price for it.
Yeah. What are you thinking about Swaggy versus Joshua, Eric?
I mean, I checked out a few of your recordings, and I understand that it's okay to be partial,
yes,
and
it is,
and to consider other factors and feelings in this. And I just do not feel good about rewarding Joshua for anything. I think if they each played 100 Big Brother games, Swaggy would probably go farther plenty of times. And he's not a complete piece of crap. So my vote is going to be for Swaggy.
Amon?
Yeah, I think that was yeah. I have to agree with Eric. I think I'm gonna go for Swaggy here too. I was just making sure that I was thinking about some of the stuff and maneuvering that Josh was doing, but I feel like again Swaggy was able to achieve some of the same holding of court that Josh was, minus all of the nastiness. So I'll give it to Swaggy.
Josh was accomplishing whatever he was accomplishing alongside some of truly the other worst people that Big Brother's ever cast. So put Swaggy in that cast. I don't know, or just like shuffle things around, put Joshua on a regular season that doesn't have such awful people surrounding him. Like, look at who he was manipulating, if you want to call it manipulating. It was all really bad people. So
by that token, though, he would do great on at least half of the seasons in Big Brother history.
That is
So yeah, could have won BB21, you know.
I suppose so. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm obviously in agreement with both of you. There's not enough from Joshua to make me feel like, oh, should I even consider, despite the fact that he sucks, giving it to him. I really do feel like Swaggy got a bit of a raw deal in a tough season against a tough player in Tyler. And it just, I don't think he's probably winning really any season out of 100 that you throw him into. But I think Josh is winning like negative seasons in that same time frame.
Not to be self-congratulatory, but I'll show you guys what a great Big Brother player I am. I am not stupid enough to come on a podcast and vote for Joshua over Swaggy. Yeah. That is absolutely not going to happen from me. I don't care what they did in the game. So Swaggy good, Josh bad.
Swaggy okay, Josh bad.
And you see, well, right, and neither Josh nor Swaggy would have the wherewithal to know that they shouldn't, vote the other way on this podcast. So
right,
I can't remember. Here. Did Bailey make it through, Matt?
Bailey made it through to the next round, yes, and I think she actually was matched up against someone from Big Brother 8, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, Bailey is the one that took out Eric, your, I believe, good friend Carol Journey.
Oof. Yeah, well, she is my good friend. I actually just went to the zoo with her last weekend.
Ooh.
Wow.
And Carol, like so many other people in Big Brother history, would be a lot of fun if she got another chance. And I know she would love it. She knows it's not going to happen, but she would love it. But based on what she contributed to Big Brother 8, I don't think she had too many wins on this wheel, So I think she would.
Would she have thought about Big Brother once since whatever year it was, had you two not been friends?
So, not to get too far off track here, but she was recruited because she was Jess's rival. So there was the main cast was cast on the show, and then they were trying to bring in rivals for everybody else. And they gave them like this dummy story about why they were there and what they were doing and so on and so forth. So like she was completely blindsided to what she was doing there. She's someone I think in life who has had a lot of wins and a lot of things go like remarkably well for her. So I think it's like a thorn in her side that this is something that did not go to her liking, that she didn't really get to prepare for. She was also 21 at the time. I think that this is a story that would be very common if you like spoke to people in Big Brother history about their preparedness to play. I think that she does and thinks that she does have like a lot more to offer, but that's what happens on these things. Not everyone gets to show what they're made of. I feel like also you walk into a house, this has happened extraordinarily few times in Big Brother history. You immediately see someone there who is against you, and you're kind of like on your back foot right away. Yeah. You're just, so I just kind of think she just feels like she never had the chance. She actually watches to this day. She'll still come out.
But the whole thing was that
on the show.
When you brought her to the BBOTT live show, she had no idea what was going on.
Well, I don't think she's, quite so deep in the podcast streets per se. I think also, she just like wanted to like have a drink. Like it was a little overwhelming potentially.
Fair enough. And then she's on stage next to Jose and a bunch of people she doesn't know, and you. So there was that. Fun times were had. All right, last matchup of the day. I'm scared. I will say, one small thing here. Maybe I'm willing it into existence right now, but like I'm on still no Dan and Will. Like we're going to get to.
They can wait.
We're going to get to like the final 10% of the names that need to be pulled on this podcast, and they're still going to be on the wheel.
All
Just
the
feels
more
insane.
likely for them to be up against each other
In round one. I shut the podcast down. All right. Well,
I mean, well, that
You're
person,
number
whoever
5.
loses, undoubtedly will win the battle back at that point. So,
Are we going back to BB9? Looks like we are. I guess we're really invested in hearing about these players that are around the same time as Eric played the game. Going to Parker.
Parker, where he been at? I feel like he was like in the streets with us for quite some time, and then he was just like, you know what, I'm gone.
I think I know more about Parker. I definitely know more about Parker from his time interacting in the Big Brother online community than I do from his 2 weeks in the house. What a robbery.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Parker.
Alrighty, Parker. His soulmate in the game was Jen. Jen and Parker won the Power Couple Challenge at the beginning of the season, evicting Sharon and Jacob. Sharon would later come back to replace Neil as Joshua's partner after Neil walked. Parker, along with Jen, were evicted in week 1 by a vote of 3-1, placing 14th.
You know what it is? The wheel just knows that we've had a long podcast and we're going longer than usual. And they said, let's just keep getting some early boots who you don't have a whole history of things to talk about. But yeah, Parker, who was his partner? Jen. Oh
Jen.
My God.
Yep.
Like truly, going to be a contender. Eric, we're doing a losers bracket alongside this on Patreon where we're talking about the worst players and all of the eliminated players. Jen obviously won her losers bracket, meaning she was the worst player of that group of 15, probably going to be a contender to be the worst player in Big Brother history. And Parker was unlucky enough to be attached to her while they were in the house together.
Well, any pair that is reliant on each other to make it to the end, that are going after each other, that is not a good strategy in Big Brother. But also, he's sort of up against it, right? Because Ryan's there. I don't remember what they did or didn't know about it, but like there was ulterior motives going on. Parker, who I do know in real life, another great casting on the show. He is a big, loud, fun personality. I do not think that really came through on the show in the way that it comes through in person and in life. He is someone who I think would be interesting on any show. That being said, his Big Brother game was not good. It was not good at all. He's extraordinarily abrasive. And yes, his partner was also incompetent. And it's just like too much drama. It really, I don't know what the path was they were hoping for, but whatever it was, it was not happening. It's on the seasons, where the gameplay is not strong, and then you are one of the lesser players on that season. It's a little tough to stump for Parker on a podcast to find Big Brother's best player. He's a nice guy. Yeah. He's a very entertaining guy.
I mean, right now we're just trying to find round 2 players, to be fair. I mean, we're ultimately trying to find. Okay, well, there's
that. I can only go so far here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I felt like there was potential, Amon. I feel like the sentiment was very obviously Jen sucks, but Parker was making some connections. People weren't thrilled about the idea of losing him. I think the show painted a narrative of like he was playing too hard, too fast. Plus, the whole thing was that he did know Jen and Ryan's secret, and eventually he kind of comes clean about it because he didn't want that stink on him when it was like not his secret to be like shamed for by the rest of the house, but the stink was still going to be on him. So put him in a season where he's not attached to somebody else. Put him in this season where he's not attached to somebody else, and I think he's final 6 almost easily. I feel like I could see that in him. Eric's making a face.
I do feel like he kind of was screwed a little bit by the fact that like the person that production put him with already had an actual connection, a real life connection with someone else in the house. They were doing a bunch of lying and scheming to keep each other safe outside of the people that production placed them with, came clean about it. So now he's roped in on the lie, and now he has to sort of like play 2 games at once. So it's kind of like, I do sympathize with having to like to deal with all that, whereas other people are just kind of having to deal with just their partner, you know? So, and then when all that gets exposed and people are coming for him as if he's the liar and he's doing his best to like salvage what he has left in his game. Yeah, I mean, he does snap. He does snap. He gets into that big blow up with was it Amanda? So it was just
Is he fighting with Amanda too? Everyone's fighting with Amanda.
I was gonna say this is a common thread in this episode.
Yes.
For someone who was really not all that memorable in her own right, she was really throwing down.
Yeah,
she was. So yeah, I mean, definitely, I I feel like his game, he kind of had to sort of like play too hard, too fast because he kind of got roped in on this big ass lie. You know,
He reminds me a little bit of someone who played right around his time in Brian Hart. Now, I don't think that's going to be a comparison a lot of people see, but he is someone who, unlike some of the other people we discussed here today, Parker has the chops to play Big Brother. He could make social bonds. He has strategy. But he did play a little hard. He is a very big personality. He's never going to be quiet. Now, of course, I would rather, from a TV standpoint, or even living there standpoint, I would rather 1,000 Parkers than, players like, well, I don't want to name names because then I'll get the haters after me, but people who are boring wallflowers in the house who are just there doing nothing. I would 1,000,000 times over rather Parker there. I do remember at the time surrounding Big Brother, he was like a paparazzi type of guy. I don't remember if he worked for TMZ or what exactly. And I will say he, as a player, not as a person, had a little bit of that sliminess to him. He was definitely like, I interacted with him a lot around the time of our seasons. He was a little bit of like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like a little car salesman. Yeah, well, a little bit. Just like he had a little bit of that, same as Brian, where you just kind of felt this is not super genuine. This is coming from a place of advancing himself. That's how I could say he was very self-motivated at the expense of others, and that can be effective, or that could be like very transparent. I could will myself into finding a scenario in which like he's having a deep run in a game. I could actually imagine him being as like an all-time reality TV legend in some capacity. But I do think more times than not on Big Brother, he's going to be fighting with someone who is in power really early in the game and end up eliminated as a result of that. He is abrasive to live with, which is an underrated part of Big Brother. And in those early weeks, sometimes it's as simple as like, who do I not want to deal with anymore? He's another one of those tornado-y type of players, but his was surrounded by 5 other tornadoes that were, circling the drain around him. If you actually think about it, it's almost unfathomable that Ryan made it to the end of the game. I mean, the details of Big Brother 9 are extraordinarily hazy to me, if I'm being honest. But I know enough about Parker. Fun guy, nice guy, charismatic guy. Not the best Big Brother player.
Okay, so maybe my rewriting like what I think he could do is based on, I know he spent a lot of time in the BB fandom if he's not still there today. So I just remember like interacting with him and seeing some of his takes that I feel like were pretty intelligent on the way that the game went down as the years went on. And
he is a savvy guy, but I think that maybe savvy is actually a better word than how I was previously describing. He's calculated, and he has the abilities, he has the know-how, but he just does not bite his tongue, in my opinion. In a game for a large sum of money, that is a skill that you're looking for. Some level of self-control that he doesn't want to have, nor should he have. He doesn't need to have it. It's just not a winning strategy in this game.
And we really didn't see a lot, obviously, at the end of the day. Goes out in the second week alongside Jen, and so might be a tough matchup for him here. But the only way to find out is to pull the last player of the day here today with Eric Stein. opponent for Parker. And that's going to be, Big Brother 6, Jennifer Vasquez.
Every time I see her name, all I can just think about is the way that Janelle says it when she's about to get her ass out of there.
How'd she say it?
Jennifer.
Funny enough, Eric, we just had Taryn on the podcast, and in Taryn's book, he writes a lot about the Kaser and Jennifer of it all. So we were talking to him a little bit about that, and I really just was saying in there, I wasn't watching live at the time. I did not really ever think, as I was binging the show and watching this season for the first time, just how much hate Jennifer truly got at the time for her move on Kaser and how hated she was. So to like really understand that perspective, or start to understand that perspective now, has been very intriguing for me all these years later. But yeah, let's talk about Jennifer. Amanda, we have notes.
We do. Jennifer entered the house with her secret partner, April. She laid low as a member of the Friendship. Jennifer became infamous for not playing the game and not winning any comps, but her game changed once she won HOH. Jennifer made a deal in the HOH comp with Kaser to keep him and his alliance safe and to target James. Later, she nominated Janelle and Rachel, telling Kaser she was going to backdoor James. After James convinced Jennifer and her alliance to not target him, she went back on her deal and nominated Kaser as a replacement. After Kaser was evicted, Janelle targeted Jennifer. Jennifer was nominated alongside Yvette and was evicted by a vote of 5-1, placing ninth.
And Eric, you were obviously a student of the game before you go into the house. Would you say that your memory of everything that went down in the seasons before you played is like as strong today as it probably was then?
No, definitely not. I really think, to me, like, her game boils down to that moment. That's really like my core memory of her. But the way that I see this is, that is 100%. And you just had a discussion about this. Maybe you guys feel differently. That's Kaser's fault entirely. That is Jennifer playing Big Brother.
Yep.
And of course, that's what she should do. She wanted to win the competition. She had allies to protect. What should she do? Send home her own ally? That was one of the first things I said on this podcast. If you send home your own ally, you should be immediately out. That is, basic Big Brother. So the way I see this is, this was like one of the most clearly split house seasons. And she was basically a foot soldier in the split house wars, right? So they end up as collateral damage, because if one side does not wipe the other side out, then they go back and forth, picking each other off. And so she got in a blow, and then they got her back. And that's what happens in those type of seasons, when you have people that are opposing each other in that way, in such a strong way. I don't recall her doing all that much, beyond that. It's kind of weird being in a central alliance and not having that much impact on the game, but that was her impact on the game. And that's more impact than a lot of people have had in the history of the game. She won an iconic endurance comp, which she lasted a ton. And then she bamboozled a popular, smart player, and she did what she needed to do. So from that perspective, she had the backbone to do it. For her own game, it didn't really go anywhere. It kind of reminds me of Jessica's HOH on Big Brother 21, where she finally goes after the big guys and Jack goes home. And it's like, finally, we're doing it. Someone's making the move that they need to make, and then she just goes home right afterwards, because it's like, well, you just went after the biggest players in the game, and now you're going to face the repercussions for it. But if you don't go after them, you go home anyway. So what choice does she have in that situation? She was aligned. And I think that, history rewrites itself, like you're saying, Matt. This is someone who, it's so tough when there's such fervor from the fandom for these situations. And it's like, she doesn't know Kaser's popularity at that time in that way, nor is it incumbent upon her to have to act on it to help him. She's there for herself, for her
Of
family,
course, yeah.
for her prize. And you know, it reminds me a little bit of Shelley betraying Jeff on Big Brother 13, and just like the absolute vitriol that she faced as a result of that. And but this was a game move. This wasn't a personal move. It wasn't a personal attack. This wasn't Joshua, who is, you know, like has a flamethrower in the house. She was playing the game, and she had to take out the numbers on the other side. Beyond that, the blurb said it all, right? What else did she even do? But that one moment is a hell of a lot more than hundreds of other people who have been in the house. You know, she is a part of probably a top 10 week in the history of the show, probably. Yep. You know, a really, really iconic, memorable part of the show. So I mean, I think like Jennifer, the player, just sort of middle of the road, but at least she had the chops to do what she needed to do. And win an incredibly difficult competition.
She won OG pressure cooker. We are all waiting for, you know, the pressure cookers to stay consistently here, and then we get them nowadays, and they're not what we're really hoping for exactly. But like the OG pressure cooker winner, and like you said, just cemented her place in history through all of that, if nothing else. But still, like a pretty decent, I would say, like for me, like middle of the road player that was just steadily part of an alliance. And once she made that move, like I think you were saying this, was always going to go out pretty soon after that, as like seen as the figurehead of it, even though maybe it was some other people pulling the strings a little bit more, but it was still just like this collection of people that were on that side of the house that all wanted this move to be made. Jennifer just had the key, Amon.
Yeah, I mean, there really wasn't much for her to do other than, you know, what she had done. Maybe you could make the argument that maybe there could have been a little bit more tact with it. Maybe there could have been a bit more of a, you know, let me butter you up before I make this betrayal. But then the moment on television wouldn't have been as great. And then the moment of watching Janelle get her revenge immediately afterward would not have been as sweet. So it's like, you know, you either get it this way, or you get it the other way. But I agree. I mean, I feel like, you know, memorability to the max for Jennifer, a part of one of the biggest betrayals in the show, one of the most memorable comps, if not the most memorable competition in Big Brother history, and had a pretty good comeuppance, a big comeuppance immediately afterwards. So, I mean, if you're going to have a good week in Big Brother and it's the week that you go out, it should be a week like Jennifer's, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Very memorable indeed. And she's got a matchup here against Parker, Big Brother 9's Parker. So, you know, some old school names going at it. I was going to say legends, but that might just be a little bit of extra credit towards at least Parker here. Not to sound rude in the final minutes of the podcast, but we should vote Parker versus Jennifer. Eric, would you like to go first one more time, or?
Yeah, this is signed, sealed, delivered. This is a Jennifer win. I could see what I think part of what's such a great experiment and sort of thought experiment that you guys are doing here is that the matchups just mean everything, right? It's just who you're against. There's a bazillion people that would have whooped Jennifer's ass here, and then there's Parker.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So you know, Jennifer all the way.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's lock it in. So I'm going to vote Jennifer as well. Amon.
Yep.
Jennifer. Okay, so Jennifer's going through in a 3-0 vote here. Eric, of Jennifer, Swaggy, and Amber, who's making it to round 3? If any. Like you just said, the randomness of the matchups could mean everything.
I think they're all going out in round 2.
All of them. Okay.
Yeah, these do not feel like the heavy hitters of Big Brother here. What do you think? What's your inkling?
I think you might be right. I feel like if I had to bet on one of them to go the furthest, it might be Jennifer.
I would say the same. I think I could see her catching another lucky break, maybe. Whereas I feel like with Amber and Swaggy, even if they have more middling matches, like the other middling players, I think edge them out in round 2. Whereas I feel like with Jennifer, she might get lucky one more time.
She is completely driven by this specific storyline, and event that she had. I cannot imagine any world in which Jennifer is like a Big Brother winner. For as memorable as she is, and maybe I'm just senile and like my brain has gone to mush. You guys have rewatched a lot more than I have. If Jennifer like was at a Big Brother event with us and standing 10 feet away from me, I do not know that like off the top of my head, I would connect who this even was.
I mean, especially today, right?
Like, right. And then this is no shade on her.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, let's keep some perspective as to how iconic she truly is. I assure you, if Janelle or James or Howie were standing next to me, I would know who they were. And, so I she had a very cool moment in a very popular season of the show, which is going to put her ahead of a hell of a lot of other people.
Well, that was a great transition. Before we get out of here, I did want to ask you, we had a tough matchup on the episode with Taryn, and it featured Howie. Howie was matched up against somebody you just spent a lot of time watching this summer, Vince. Howie versus Vince.
Well, I know that Taryn is Vince's ultimate hater, although he has since turned the corner on it. But to me, I do not think there is any comparison here, and I have spent a lot of time with Howie through the years. But to me, Vince absolutely mops the floor with him, and in spite of his strategic follies or deficiencies as a player. 4 HOHs decided the outcome of more events of the house than not. And one thing that I'm always looking for in a impactful Big Brother player, if we don't want to use the word good or great here, is when you're sitting in that chair with Julie, or you're stewing in the hotel room afterwards, or you're in the jury house, right? Who are you blaming for the fact that you're there? And I bet you a vast majority of the BB27 house is thinking that MFer Vince got me. I trusted him. I believed him. He gave me bad intel. He chose them over me, which means that he was several weeks ahead of them in the game. Now, did he spin out? Did he always make his optimal move? No, of course not. But he was like a ball of fire. We had a lot of conversations. I've never really thought about this even style of player, these chaotic, tornado-y players, but he left destruction in his wake, which is a lot more than several other Big Brother players can say. Howie really effectively was a henchman for his allies, and also was a part of, a few very boneheaded moves. I'm sure that you guys detailed several of the boneheaded moves that Vince made, and that is indisputably true as well. But the highest highs that Vince brought and the impact he had on the outcome, in my opinion, I don't think Howie ever did anything even close to actually impacting the game in that way. So I am curious where you guys landed on all of this, because I know that Taryn must have been a strong advocate against Vince.
I will say he did vote against Vince, but it wasn't a strong advocacy against Vince. It was the same reason. It was a very close vote. We were all going back and forth. I think I ended up being the deciding vote. I couldn't make up my mind. Just having watched Vince all summer and seeing the downfalls in his game where that led to his ultimate loss made it really hard to want to put him through over a guy who, I mean, look, Howie is not it doesn't have the strength of gameplay that Vince had, pretty much exactly what you were just describing. But I don't know, maybe because I wasn't watching those seasons live to see in real time what could have happened if he made it to the end, versus I just saw what happened. Vince made it to the end and had no chance to win that jury vote. That's what made it a little tough. But I will say, I've asked a couple people that question since the matchup happened, and most have said, yeah, Vince easily. So I think we probably did make the right results, but just a whole summer of watching Vince around the house made it tough.
Well, you guys are really in the the bubble of information and sort of like groupthink on some of these topics, right? But when you look back in a few years on Big Brother 27, right? This is the season of Ashley's thrilling, unexpected victory through a style of gameplay that we had not seen in a while, and then after that, it's the season of Vince and Morgan. The good, the bad, and the ugly. That's all that will be left of Big Brother 27 when all is said and done. And that is not how you think of Big Brother 6 or Big Brother 7. These are not Howie's seasons. You know, Vince was enough of a player on all ends of the spectrum that he basically became the central figure of the season alongside of Morgan, obviously. And I think that the more we get removed from the game, the more people will start to come around on the fact that he was well aligned and he had tons of options. He did not seem to be able to get out of his own way to properly implement them or decide what to do when he got to these forks. But the average player would never even have had the opportunity to choose person A or person B or person C. And he's one of these very fascinating players to the viewers because the charisma did not come through, you know, from a viewer experience. But the people in the house are telling you it was working for them. They all wanted to work with him. They all trusted him, no matter time and time again that he showed that you shouldn't, and they still did. So something that he was doing there was effective in this group of people who were experiencing it live. So whereas Howie, I mean, is a big personality, but I think Howie is kind of propped up, if I'm being honest, by being one of these early season characters on a really popular season aligned with really popular players. And I think that he's sort of popular and memorable by proxy. I think that if you just like switched him out with, I don't know, you know, Jeremy from Big Brother 15 or just like any one of these big moron characters, that I do not think that he would be that memorable. I think he's memorable as part of
Hurricane Howie,
right? Of
the time and place that he was
legendary team, which is great. But the more seasons that happen, and the more legendary teams that exist, it's like, you know, that to me gets a little bit diluted. And I understand also when you're on the feeds watching hours and hours a day, how maddening it must have been to watch Vince, but that's really being like, you know, deeply in the thick of it. I do think that with the time heals all wounds, you know, I think you take a step back and say, well, actually he had a lot going on.
And if I watched Howie that week that Maggie, you know, completely spun him in circles, then I would have been, you know, not even giving him a chance. But just because that's just a small blip in what I binged watched of Big Brother 6, it's not as in my head. So yeah,
Well, you guys mentioned this, I think offline before we got started, but the truth of the matter is that there are extremely few people that are fundamentally great Big Brother players. That have the true chops of the various skills that it takes to play this game, a comprehension of what they're trying to do, the ability to enact it, the social ability to the endurance to keep it up for as long as it needs, the strategic chops. And now, of course, the competitions are such a gigantic part of it. And when you start to dissect it in the way that you guys are doing, there's a hell of a lot more people that lost and went down in flames than there are who did well, because often on a season, it's just one or two people that are doing well, and everybody else is just kind of left in their dust. And that's really it. So whether you came in 15th place or, you know, 7th place or whatever the case may be, it's going to be a small sliver of people, and then who really know what they're doing. And I think you guys, you know, you know who they are. You know who the chops are, and it's just a matter of you know, how it shakes out in the end.
Yeah. Go ahead, Amon.
I mean, no, yeah, it's good. It's a Big Brother is hard, man. So like, I, I just feel like if you can go in there and have like a modicum of sanity and wherewithal to withstand the torture and the marathon that is Big Brother, props to you. And then if you can play well on top of that, like, yeah, I think that you kind of are in an elite class.
If you had a modicum of control over
Yeah.
what was happening in your house for even so much as a couple of weeks, where you had people doing your bidding, you steered a ship in the direction that you wanted it to go, and it actually happened, and it actually benefited you. You are in the elite of Big Brother, because most people go in there with an idea of what it's going to be like or a plan, and it goes so far off the rails from what they are trying to accomplish, and they have
So many
no
things out of your
agency
control.
whatsoever. And that's why, to me, in that example that you offered, Vince had allies. He called shots. They might not have been the right shots, but he had the agency to do it. And so many people who step foot in the house don't have the relationships, and they don't even have the ideas,
Yeah.
of where to go with it.
I'm not blowing smoke when I say this, but I really feel like some of what you've brought to the conversation today, Eric, is like a little bit redefining for me, like what we'll be looking for going forward. So I do appreciate that. I want to wrap up what we had happen today. Just real quick. Last matchup of the day, we just saw Jennifer from BB6 go through over Parker from Big Brother 9. Also lost from BB9 today, Joshua in the second matchup, which goodbye, in favor of Swaggy C going to round 2. And then we also saw Amber Borzotra from Big Brother 16 make it to the next round in favor of Big Brother 27, the only person from the season to come up today, and that is Amy. Eric, are you somewhat satisfied with the results of the day today?
Satisfied with the results, but you guys really brought out the heavy hitters for this episode.
Yes, we did. Just
These are
for you.
some true icons of the game that we got to discuss.
Look, if we're so lucky enough to get to talk to you again at some point in the future, maybe in a deeper round, it will be tougher decisions and tougher matchups, and we won't be saying that in a joking manner. But Amon, anything else today?
No, yeah, this was very, very fun, and I concur with what you said earlier. I do think that Eric has sort of like made me think about some more criteria moving forward. So I'm excited to see how everyone else responds to this episode, and yeah, like just I'm glad that we got a lot more of the older school players this time around too, because I feel like we were kind of like lacking in that area over the past couple of episodes. So we got to go back in time a bit, which I'm very happy about. So
Yes, and obvious topic of the day here, or overall story of the day here, is Eric Stein on the podcast with us. What a pleasure, a joy, and honor, Eric, to have you here with us. I'm so thrilled and thankful, both of us are, that you said yes to joining us for what is now the longest episode of this podcast. Wouldn't want anybody else to have that title with us. So Eric, thank you so much for joining us. I don't think there is, but is there anywhere you want people to be following you online?
No, I have absolutely nothing to say for
Yeah.
myself. But I'm so happy that you guys thought of me and included me in this amazing project. It's so much fun, and I am always good to take something way too seriously that's just intended for fun. So, I coming in like waxing philosophical about the what it means to be a good Big Brother player, when all I needed to say is Joshua is a complete asshole, and the rest of these people, who even are they? And some of them moved on and some of them didn't. But in spite of my like very like deep dive analyzing of the situation, this was a lot of fun. I love nerding out like this. One of the reasons I stopped talking about Big Brother is because it's of course, the sole objective here is to judge everyone who's ever been on Big Brother. But like, I just kind of started thinking like, well, who am I to judge what they're doing? We all did the same thing. We all played the game. We all did our best. And, I think I mentioned this when I was chatting with Sharon. Some of the best and most memorable Big Brother players are the biggest creeps that you could possibly imagine, and just like really unpleasant people in real life. And there's so many people that went out second on their season that are amazing. And I personally started to struggle with dissecting people's game day to day, week to week, in the way that you have to when you're really on the streets of Big Brother, to be relevant, because it's hard to stay positive over the course of a 100-day season. And I feel like when people tune into stuff like this, they do so because they love it, you know?
Mhm.
But that being said, while I came here today, like, you know, excited to celebrate these people, when you pull out the likes of Joshua, there's just nothing nice to say. You know, I had to go back to my old self.
Unfortunately, some of the show is littered with not nice people. So, you know, we'll get rid of them and we will have more fun as the rounds go on. But fair for sure.
We had to take out the trash today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Eric, thank you again so much for joining us. Again, we can only be so lucky as to be able to do this again at some point. As far as you know, plugs go for you know, obviously come find Amon and I on Patreon, patreon.com/the diary room. We do all of our losers brackets there. Even more fun stuff planned for round 2 as we get closer and closer to it. Our battle back votes to invite somebody back into the competition once they lose. Otherwise, check me out on the Free Agents podcast, talking all things the challenge and currently the Amazing Race. But that'll do it. Amon's waiting for Drag Race to come back. So I think that's really it for now. Amon, get us out of here.
Yes. Our thanks once again to the original America's favorite player, or America's player, rather.
The Mastermind.
The Mastermind. And until next time, guys, please go to the diary room.